Hello and welcome to the Bewitched story. It was written and researched by Mark Crampton, music is by Amanda Thompson, and it is read by Holly Plummer Finch.
Hi, I'm Kiwi.
Hi, this is Adele.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. Hi, everybody, I'm Sinead.
And we are Bewitched.
Fizzier Than Lemonade, Bewitched are four multi-talented girls from Dublin, Ireland, who have single-handedly breathed fresh life into the pop charts. Claiming to be more interested in bringing joy into people's lives than becoming incredibly famous, the Irish pop sensations are the latest combo to jump on the girl power bandwagon. The group comprises vocalist Adele Lynch, her guitar-playing twin sister Kiwi, keyboardist Sinead O'Carroll, and guitarist Lindsay Armagh. Bursting into the music scene in the summer of 1998, the Dublin-based tank-top-clad four-piece became the first act in UK chart history to have their first four singles enter the charts back-to-back at number one, a feat unmatched by the feisty Spice Girls, All Saints, Oasis, and the Beatles. They are also the youngest girl group ever to notch up a number one single on the UK pop charts. With the incredible chart success of the instantly infectious C'est La Vie, Roller Coaster, To You I Belong, and Blame It on the Weatherman, it's been a very heady year for the much-in-demand Irish teen quartet. Only 6 other artists in UK chart history have scored 3 consecutive number one singles, but only Bewitched have seen their hits actually debut at the prestigious number one position. Call them the female Hanson, the tomboy Spice Girls, whatever you call them, the 4 young Irish women of Bewitched have cast a seemingly magical spell on teenagers the world over. But while in essence our Fab Four perform really out-and-out pure pop, they are a separate entity from your Cleopatras, All Saints and Spice Girls. Some people have gone so far as to describe them as the first Irish hip-hop act. Yet twin sisters Adele and Kiwi and their friends Sinead and Lindsay claim their only special powers are musical.
We're from Dublin and Sinead's from Kildare.
The roots of Bewitched extend back a long, long way, all the way back to Dublin, Ireland, where in the early 1980s, twin sisters Adele and Kiwi Lynch discovered a mutual love of music. Born in the Irish capital on 15th of December 1979, the Lynch twin sisters came from a very musically orientated family. There was always music around them when they were growing up. Grandad played the fiddle, and they never needed much of an excuse to dance and sing. Very soon, the twin siblings were making up their own songs and performing them. One day, when Adele was driving around in the car, singing along to Eternal Flame by the Bangles, her parents told her she was a great singer and should pursue music professionally. Besides learning to play the flute, Adele studied ballet, jazz, modern and tap dancing, then hip-hop dancing. She joined a troupe and did gigs around Ireland and later even taught dancing herself. Adele knew that she wanted to be a performer of some sort. Like her sister, Kiwi also played a musical instrument, the saxophone. If Kiwi had any worries, she would just start dancing and singing. At home, the twins would put on little shows whenever it took their fancy. There were 6 kids in the family, and they always loved to entertain. Back then, success as megastar pop performers seemed like a very distant dream. However, as the twins got older, their ultimate goal in life started looking a bit more realistic. Things soon started falling into place. All they needed now was to recruit a couple of kindred female spirits. Those potential teammates were out there somewhere, harbouring similar dreams of pop superstardom. All that was required was a few simple twists of fate to bring Bewitched together. No cattle calls for fresh young faces or talent searches brought the Bewitched girls to the limelight. Adele and Kiwi dropped out of school a year too soon, and Adele began working as a shop assistant and Kiwi as a trainee in her father's garage. Like the twins, Sinead O'Carroll, born on the 12th December 1979 in Dublin, had also been involved in music from a tender age. playing piano from the age of 7 and going on to study dance and performance. One morning, she wandered into the Dublin garage where 19-year-old Keavy was working as a part-time mechanic after her mother's car broke down just outside the auto shop. The two girls recognised each other from the Diggs Lane dance studios in Dublin, where they both used to take classes, and bonded immediately. Sinead was then introduced to Keavy's twin sister Adele, and the Bewitched lineup was 3/4 of the way to making up the full band. Enter Lindsay Armell, an 18-year-old with a particular magical musical yen, who was already an accomplished musician, having learned the piano at 7 and the guitar at 13. Born in Dublin on the 18th December 1980, of Irish-Greek extraction, she lived in Greece until she was 13, but because her mum wanted her to have an Irish education, the family moved back to Dublin. She later hooked up with Keavy at a kickboxing class, and bingo, then there were 4. The Bewitched lineup was complete and was ready to cast its collective spell on planet pop.
Hi, this is Lindsay from Bewitched.
Our 4 wannabes never had any preconceived ideas that life would be full of glitz and glam. From the moment they decided that they were going to be a band, they knew that if they had any chance of making the big time, it was going to have to be full-on hard work, and they never thought it was going to be any different. The girls used to rehearse their dancing in a park, St. Stephen's Green, even though the people passing often gave them strange looks. Right from the start, they just seemed to hit it off, both musically and socially. But they didn't want to hurry anything. They knew they had something good going, but wanted to take their time with it. Between the 4 of them, they had a host of different musical influences to mix and match. Everything from hip-hop to pop, from soul to traditional Irish folk. They wanted to take all these influences, absorb them, and create something that was entirely new. Drawing inspiration from the success of the Lynch sisters' brother Shane, a member of the chart-topping boy supergroup Boyzone no less, the group took to extensive rehearsal and writing sessions. The 4 girls decamped from their homes and all moved to Sinead's flat in Dublin, where for months on end they buckled down to the process of writing songs, singing, practicing harmonies and playing different melodies into a cheap tape recorder. Sometimes they would train up to 34 hours a week. They'd go into their home studio for hours after work. Lindsay was still at school at the time. Meeting at 7 o'clock, they'd train until about 10 in the evening, go home and then get up for work the next day. Their songs were sounding so good, Sinead's neighbours regularly knocked on the door and asked them to turn up the volume. Luckily, Sinead, Adele, Keavy and Lindsay were eventually discovered after a tip-off which led to a record signing at the beginning of 1998. A TV station was doing a documentary on the dance centre where they had met and heard them rehearsing. They came over to see them and liked what they saw. 2 weeks later, Bewitched were invited to perform on the show. One thing led to another, and eventually they met a manager. Over in London, England, pop producer Ray Hedges, best known for his work with Boyzone, as well as Bros and Anton Deck, had finally achieved his dream of running his own label called Glowworm through Epic Records. Hedges was partnered in Glowworm by former New Kids on the Block manager Kim Glover. Hedges and Glover's forte lay in their ability to write for and produce their acts, as well as coming up with original ideas. They were keen to make the most of their experience with boy bands, and the last thing they wanted to do was work with a girl band. However, they were looking for something to break the mould, and saw Bewitched as an act that would do just that, somewhere between Chumbawamba and Aqua. As a promotional stunt, a lot of record company bigwigs were invited to a tea party. The girls served jello and marshmallows. Sony Music immediately liked what they saw and offered them a long-term record deal. The girls moved to London and began plugging themselves in earnest. Besides the obligatory radio and club appearances, the group undertook a small school tour where they played at different establishments to introduce themselves to their soon-to-be fans.
Hi, I'm Keavy.
On May 25th, 1998, Bewitched's debut single C'est La Vie was released in the UK and made for a boldly spirited start to an exciting new pop adventure. Heavily hyped, even prior to its release, the Celtic-flavoured C'est La Vie quickly took over the radio airways and shopping mall sound systems in the UK, thanks in part to its obligatory catchy chorus. The girls had hoped for maybe a top 30 spot with the song, but when C'est La Vie stormed straight into the UK charts at number 1, outselling every other single by nearly double, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Bewitched became the youngest girl band to debut at the top of the charts in the UK with their first single. C'est La Vie notched up over 9 weeks in the top 10, selling over 800,000 copies. The girls also left Europe spellbound. C'est La Vie reached the number 1 position in Ireland and New Zealand and was a huge hit in Australia. In the UK, it was to be the 5th best-selling single of 1998. A sublime slice of contemporary music which incorporated elements of soul and Irish jiggery, it stood out as one of the most animated debut pop singles in recent memory. The kind of song that wasted no time in burrowing into the listener's subconscious and refusing to budge. It's a song that could be interpreted in a number of different ways. But Bewitched see it more as a kind of modern-day fairy tale, a song about being young and innocent, which is pretty much how the girls feel at this time in their lives. Upon its release in mid-September, the group's follow-up single Roller Coaster also crashed straight into the UK charts at number 1, making Bewitched the second new act after TV heartthrobs Robson and Jerome in chart history to debut at number 1 with their first 2 singles. Roller Coaster was just that, a ride of musical highs and in true Bewitched style, instantly memorable. It was accompanied by a stunning video that saw the girls literally flying around the world. But that wasn't the end of the girls' singles success story. Further chart-topping hits followed. Like its predecessors, Bewitched's gentle, haunting third single, To You I Belong, stormed straight to the top of the UK charts in December, making them the 7th act in chart history to have a hat-trick of number 1s. When a little piece of pop confection called Blame It on the Weatherman, a refreshingly non-victimised song about lost love, also debuted at the top of the UK charts in the spring of 1999, the teen girls in Bewitched had finally secured their place in British pop history.
Hi everybody, my name is Sinead.
Despite their daunting run of chart-topping hits, many critics still thought of Bewitched as a group of number 1 hit wonders. Thankfully, the girls ignored the pressure, and a self-titled debut LP found its way into record racks in the fall of 1998. Solid sales proved that they had won over the hearts of the record-buying public, and the critics who had wanted to pin them as the Irish Spices were forced to hold fire. Their debut top 3 album, Bewitched, a double platinum seller, showcased Adele, Keavy, Lindsay and Sinead's extreme and undeniable talents as artists with their distinctive blend of charming Celtic-influenced pop. Working alongside producer Ray Hedges and arranger Martin Brannigan, they co-wrote 9 of the 12 tracks on their self-titled debut. Besides the breakout chart-topping hits of C'est La Vie, Roller Coaster, To You I Belong and Blame It on the Weatherman, the album was full of surprises, classic pop songs and haunting acoustic ballads. From album opener Let's Go, the Bewitched Jig, a sprightly combination of Celtic fiddle and hip-hop rhythm, to the delicately constructed Castles in the Air, the girl power anthem We Four Girls, to the lush closing track Oh Mr. Postman, Bewitched served notice that there was major musical ambition at work. It was a highly tuneful debut album, chock full of bouncy choruses and more than you'd expect to recommend the group over any number of their contemporaries. But while they displayed their own individual originality, Bewitched songs also freely mined the best traditions of pop history. Rev It Up kicked off with the Jackson 5's The Love You Save hook. Roller Coaster's bridge drew from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and Freak Out openly lifted the guitar riff from Venus. Even on the more serious tunes, Bewitched didn't try to stretch beyond their reach. When they shouted, "Grab your cap, grab your rulers, let's go," there was no question what market they were shouting at, and the album never veered from serving that audience.
Hi, this is Adele from Bewitched, and this is how you say bewitched in gibberish. BVG was a gitched.
Adele Lynch, the fiery lead singer of Bewitched, has a voice of strawberries and cream and hazy summer afternoons. Known to her mates as Eddie or Del, she loves being on stage and making the audiences smile. In fact, loads of things make her happy, like being in a band, seeing family and friends, going to bed when she's tired and eating popcorn when watching a film. One of her most talked about features is the scars she sports on her forehead. Kiwi Lynch, Adele's twin sister, is the member of Bewitched that has had the most hairstyles. She's bright and bubbly and wants happiness for everyone. No war, no fighting, no homeless people. Known to her friends as plain and simple Kivas, one of her main ambitions in life would be to meet the king of pop, Michael Jackson. But in the long term, she wishes for a husband and a family. Though Kieves and Adele are identical twins, they have different personalities, and maybe that's why they've always got along so well. Physically, Kiwi wears bangs, whereas Adele doesn't. As for the other members of the group, Lindsay Armour is often considered to be the most captivating of the girls due to her excellent look at life. She rarely lets things get her down, and whenever she appears in the public eye, she stands out head over shoulders. Lindsay has an uncanny ability to communicate with cats. She seems to understand them and actually believes that she was one of these feline creatures in a previous life. Maybe that's why she's living for the moment and not looking too far ahead. Our Linz just enjoys performing and making music. For her, being in Bewitched is a dream come true. Sinead O'Carroll is the oldest member of Bewitched. She has had her fair share of fame experiences, upholding that this is the job that she's always dreamed of doing. Sinead truly believes in fate. She has wanted to be a performer since she was 8 years old and just knew she was going to do something in the music business. Sinead, who originally studied drama and was in a number of shows before joining the group, loves being a singer because it allows her to be an individual. Nicknamed Shenanigans, her motto in life is, be nice to people, because what goes around comes around.
It's myself and Lindsay.
Yeah.
We kickboxed about a year and a half ago. We haven't done it since we moved to England because we haven't got time.
Back to the present. The girls in Bewitched recently chalked up further worldwide success on a sold-out tour in America with new boy band Hotshots NSYNC. However, despite their success stateside, Bewitched were unceremoniously dubbed Spice Girls clones there. Since splashing across America with the perky C'est La Vie, Bewitched have battled identity problems. The group's fresh, flirty yet wholesome image had many observers dismissing them as the Irish Spice Girl wannabes. And when Bewitched recently bettered the Spice Girls chart record in the UK by having their first 4 singles debut at number 1, remember the Spice Girls just had 3, the comparisons only became more intense. But in hindsight, Bewitched's music is completely different from that of the Spice Girls. It is still primetime pop, but because it's so Irish in nature, it's instantly recognisable. People hear it and go, yeah, that's Bewitched. On the fashion side, the girls all dress completely differently from the Spices, so they've never really been compared to them here in the UK. Because their image is different, their music seems just as far apart. The only thing that isn't different is that they are girls and they're in the pop business. It's when they're performing live that Bewitched reckons that they have the most fun. All they're about is to be on stage and perform for their fans. Having toured with Boyzone and 911, they have proved beyond a doubt that they can also cut it on stage with the best of them, turning in the kind of juiced-up performances that have had excited audiences hollering for more. When they're not performing their hearts out, our 4 beauties like nothing better than to paint the town red or have a girls' night in doing face masks and each other's nails. When it comes to the crunch, Bewitched don't want to be one-dimensional. They don't want to be about one thing. They want to be about everything. All the stuff they write is based on experience. Bewitched are nothing less than a celebration of life, writing songs from the late teenager's viewpoint. They're cheeky and high on life, but they're not bad girls. They just believe in enjoying life to the max and want to get that feeling over in their songs. If Bewitched have got a message, it's in their music. It's basically, live your life to the full. That's essentially what they're about. Anyway, the Irish popsters are about as lively and lovely as it gets right now. What's more, they've got the world by the tail. Full of zest and radioactive with self-belief, it seems that Bewitched can do no wrong. The girls have proved that they can craft music of top-notch quality. They don't really think about limits. They totally believe in the power of pop music to raise people's spirits. And that's exactly what they intend to do. Raise people's spirits and make them feel more alive. If their music can do that, then they're achieving their ambition.
Thank you for buying the Bewitched story. We hope you enjoyed it. Watch out for further releases on Chrome Dreams coming up soon. If you did enjoy it or have any comments or suggestions, write to us at Chrome Dreams, PO Box 230, New Malden, Surrey, UK, KT3 6YY and tell us so. We've got free copies of our next release for the best letters, so don't forget to include your name and address. Thanks again for listening and goodbye for now.